All right, so Boots.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
It's it's a new dawn today, isn't it? It's the reintroduction
a brand new day. Yeah. Sorry.
of a classic. We are, as you can see from the title, doing Elite Speculation. Now, Boots, do you want to explain the history of the series here and why this is pretty cool that we're back to it?
Sure. So way back when, in the year
long ago.
Was it 21.7 or 21.6?
What?
The year that we started Elite Speculation.
It was last year, wasn't it? It was only last year.
21.7.
All right, there you go.
Way back when, in the year 21.7, there was a little thing called Elite Speculation, where we would take each class and then speculate on when the expansion came, what the new Elite Spec for that class would be, and how cool it would be. So basically, we wouldn't really speculate on it so much as just come up with a really fun Elite Speculation that we want to see, Elite Spec that we want to see, and then talk about it and explain how it would work. Unfortunately...
So when we started this, only the Heart of Thorns ones were out, and we were guessing at what might be fun for the next expansion. We didn't even have a title for or anything, right?
Yeah.
So when last we were talking about Warrior, we only had Berserker, and we were wondering, what could the next thing be? It ended up being Spellbreaker, which we all now know.
I think we knew at that point that it was probably going to be in the desert, because I think that worm glitch happened where everything was a desert worm.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we did. We saw the Jinundu in Twilight Arbor. Well remembered. Yeah, that got leaked early. Yeah, that was before even the big leaks.
Yeah, so now, unfortunately, the big leaks happened. So after 2 episodes, we did Warrior and Mesmer, and after 2 episodes, somebody put a bunch of leaks about the POF expansion onto the subreddit, and unfortunately, it included most of the elite specs. So every time,
I mean everything about the X-Pack kind of just got blown up.
Yeah. So we couldn't really we couldn't really classify our thing as elite speculation anymore, because there's no point in speculating on something we already know about.
Yeah, it was just less fun too. A lot of people said to us back when that happened, "Oh, just keep doing the theories. It's fine. Just go for it." But the thing was, we already knew what the new ones were going to be, and it was much more fun to think about how they were going to get realized. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to talk about the leaks whatsoever. Exactly. I didn't want to feed that whirlpool, right? So it just kind of put us in a bad position. However, now we're a year into POF. We've had the announcement of Season 4 into Season 5, and then another week. So we've got tons of time now where we can talk about what the next elite specializations might be, with the knowledge too of the Spellbreaker and the Berserker, which we also would have been, denied before, right?
Exactly.
Because we couldn't do, oh no, that sounds too Spellbreaker-ish, but we can't explain why we're avoiding Spellbreaker-ish stuff. It just would have been weird. So we're back a year after the X-Pack came out.
And so early before the next possible X-Pack that maybe what we do here will influence the devs.
Yeah, well, here's the actual secret of this. You know how last time we started the series and all the leaks came out? I'm actually doing this here with you today to get more leaks to come out, because I just love those leaks, right? So, yeah, look, it started, guys. You want to screw us out of a series? Go for it. Leak the Blood Legion Homelands expansion or whatever it is that's coming. So yeah, and we've been talking a lot about Warrior. Boots and I almost random, right? I mean, I had a vague idea. You had a vague idea.
I did not have a vague idea. You said, I want to do Warrior because I already have an idea. And then I said, all right, I'll come up with something with the Warrior.
Okay, yeah, it's largely been pulled out of a hat. But I did have an idea, and I'm excited to show it to you. So we're starting with Warrior, which is funny because of the limited run of episodes last season. Warrior was one of them, so we're doing it again here. So yeah, I guess let's just jump on in, and I want to explain to you guys who may not have seen the old series how this works. On screen right now, you can see 2 big rectangles. I'm playing the game, but Boots right now is our art master, and as we discuss our concepts, what we want to do, Boots can draw them onto these whiteboards, him on the left, his elite specialization, mine on the right, and we'll be able to see as we go through, whose is better, whose is more interesting, and at the end of the video, we're going to ask you guys to vote and determine which is
Which
the
one
king.
is the best.
Okay,
Exactly.
so it should be very cool.
It's a competition.
Yeah, do you want to give people a bit of a demonstration, Boots, of what drawing on the boards might be like?
Sure. Let's see.
We're asking him to be creative here, so this will be good. Oh god, what is it? Oh, you're drawing potatoes! Dude, that's sweet! Oh, are you drawing potatoes? There you go. I'm a butt. Great. Oh, is it a butt? Or is that? Are they butt cheeks or are they potatoes?
I don't know. It started out as potatoes, but it could be butt cheeks. Okay. And I think that's a commentary on your logo.
Thank you. Well, it's clearly not my logo because the third potato is missing. So, all right. Do you want to toss a coin, Boots, to see who goes first?
Yes.
Okay. So, guys, basically what Boots and I have done is we've hashed out a few different categories and things about our elite specs that we have designed here. So, we've got, like, the name, we've got the overall idea and a picture of our elite specs. We've got, like, some examples of traits, skills. We're not doing the whole thing because it would take hours. But, you know, just enough to get a general gist. So, I guess we'll start with the name, and whoever goes first will lead the way. You got a coin?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought you had a coin. Why did you suggest it if you didn't have a coin?
I literally meant, do you want to toss a coin? Like, literally.
Okay, hold on. I'll toss I have a $50 off to HelloFresh card that I'm going to toss in the air.
Sounds lovely.
Okay, so you've got the $50 off side. I'll get the code.
Okay, but
and
wait,
get cooking side.
What does that mean? If it lands $50 off, I get to go first?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh, God. $50 off.
Sweet. Okay, mine is called the Sentinel. Dun dun dun.
Dun 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 dun. That's a good name. I like that.
Yeah, Sentinel.
Wait, hold on. I gotta write that down. The Sentinel.
And,
okay, continue.
Long-time fans of mine may know where this is going immediately with the Sentinel.
Uh-oh. Okay, go.
I've talked
but
about
hold on. We already have some pretty tanky warrior stuff.
Yeah, I know. Look, don't worry. Okay, what's your name?
Okay, mine is the Bloodreaver.
Bloodreaver. Oh, I like it. If that doesn't have sacrifice skills, I'll be very unhappy with you.
Okay, all right. Well, continue.
All right, so the Sentinel. We'll do a picture next. Do you want to see a picture?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hold on a second there.
What?
Is that 2 shields?
Yes, it's 2 shields, baby.
Where'd you get that picture?
From Google. Do you want to know the exact source? I didn't make it or anything, but I got it from Google. Let me tell you, Boots, if you're going to go for a shield main hand warrior, which is what the Sentinel is, it's very difficult to find convincing concept art of it on the internet. There's like some really ridiculous stuff. So I just went with it, you know, a nice looking dwarf, dude. With two shields. Sentinel, you know, that fits kind of the dwarven lore theme of the dwarves in this game, you know, guarding the entrances and exits to the death.
So does that mean that with your elite spec, you're going to get a new playable race?
No. I could say that and just win our little competition outright because, you know... and in fact, there was something I wanted to say, Boots. I think in the future what we should do is... So because mine is, you guys now see, a dual-wielding shield guy... He's very tanky, okay, and it's about support, and you'll see as it goes ahead. Now, if you've done a DPS thing, I think you win by default because people will want people will generally want to play DPS more than they want to play anything else. So you know, when we cross those wires, I wonder if that's going to encourage us to do some like I don't know. I wonder whether it doesn't quite work. So maybe instead of picking just profession for an episode, we should pick the same like style as well, but I don't know whether that's smart. Do you get what I mean?
No, I think don't limit yourself, man. You gotta let your mind
go free. Okay, but look, people, the unwashed masses of the internet do not appreciate the value of a good support.
You really have to stop calling your audience unwashed.
What? We're MMO players, man. I know the score. All right, go on. What's yours? Let's see the image.
Okay, so this one you might actually recognize. It was quite easy for me to find this image.
Okay.
But here we go.
All right. I'll recognize it, will I? I didn't know what a Space Marine was, remember?
Go.
It's actually Guild Wars concept art. Hi, that's the warrior from the Profession reveals.
It is literally the Profession reveal warrior. It is what the warrior is supposed to look like. And except for one thing. For some reason, the warrior, from the beginning of the game, has always had a great axe.
I don't know, but
wielding
yeah,
as his concept art.
No, it is a great axe, isn't it? I don't. It
is a great axe.
I could say, oh, it's just because he doesn't have an offhand equipped, but you're totally right. That's like a great axe.
That is definitely a great axe. That's a two-handed battle axe, and it has never gotten one yet until now.
He looks like a ghost there as well with how that's been shown. That's kind of crazy, man.
Well, that's just his adrenaline seeping off of him.
I really like that. You've been really smart about that. You know, actually managed to get some Guild Wars concept art in there as well. Makes it feel like such a natural fit. So with the pictures on the board, let's talk about the overall themes, I guess, since I won the coin toss. Basically, the idea of mine, okay, is the name should be a real tip-off. In Guild Wars 2 at the moment, there is a stat set called Sentinel's Gear. And I've already on a warrior who can exchange his power into more vitality and do other things like rampage. You did a video on this very recently, Boots. You can become very vitality stacked on a warrior, right? What I've always wanted is a Sentinel Elite Spec that uses the Sentinel gear stat set as like a best in slot for a various thing.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Your idea is to have an elite spec that forces someone to use a certain stat set?
No. It doesn't force you to use it, but there's that like thematic tie there, you know? Like quite often when I'm playing a Miniomancer, I want to play with Lich runes, right? And it's not necessarily always a good idea, but it's kind of a fun little like flavor thing. And I wanted an elite spec that ties into that a little bit, right? Like you'll be able to play this on other sets and you'll be able to do whatever you want. Obviously, it's not 100% needed to be Sentinels, but it would be something that would be really fun with it. So the whole point, okay, is to become super sturdy and sustainy through vitality. What I want to do is to chunk that vitality up really hard, and I'll talk about how that goes, how we accomplish that later, particularly through the gear. But just being super sturdy isn't good enough in this game, really. You need to be able to offer something else. It's not like that kind of traditional tanky ideas there. So the whole point of this is it's a support tank, okay? But instead of healing at its allies, it supports its allies through mitigation and its tankiness, okay? Which
sort of like with barrier, kind of
like a barrier spammer, but a totally different flavor. That is like the tankier you are, the more you can mitigate your allies' damage, all right? Which will become clear when we get into the actual mechanics and stuff. So that's the idea. It's actually essentially a support tank warrior, all right? Now I know that that's not going to be what everyone's looking for, but I think this is a really cool way to do it, all right? So that's the Sentinel.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow,
well,
you've drawn a lot. Oh my god. Okay, cool. I love it. All right.
So should I? Hold on a second though, because I remember in a previous episode, you went very hardcore into writing the description of your guy, but you didn't do it this time. And so I went and actually wrote something for my
you've done like a good, an actual
like a
flavorful.
Blurb, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's hype. All right, go for it. Yeah, my lore thing would be like, oh, the Sentinels follow in the footsteps of the Brotherhood of the Dragon. Blah, 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 blah. You know, they're defenders of the people. Yeah, all right, so you've written a real one. Let's hear it, man.
Okay. You are a Bloodreaver. The thrill of battle makes your blood boil much faster than other warriors. The adrenaline pumping through your veins alters your mental and physical attributes, numbing you to pain and increasing your strength and ruthlessness. Ooh. It also allows you to channel your heightened focus into new bursts of adrenaline-fueled fervor.
Oh, okay.
So basically, with the Bloodreaver, you're going to be using adrenaline a lot more than you do with other specs. So like with other specs, it's all just with your F1 ability, sometimes with your F2 ability, but that's all you do. This adrenaline counts for a lot more. So you might be getting adrenaline faster because of this spec, and you'll be using adrenaline a lot more in much more interesting ways.
Okay, all right. Have you thought about how that crosses with Berserker kind of gameplay? Or is it...
No.
Okay, all right.
It's very different from Berserker.
Okay, fair enough. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our core mechanics, I guess, right?
Okay.
And how this works. So, first of all, for me, obviously, you can't really do warrior stuff without playing with adrenaline, and you've done something really exciting with it. Mine's quite simple. I've unlocked a T4 adrenaline, right? So you get 4 bars. However, the T4 adrenaline isn't tearing up your burst skills or anything. The only thing that last bar is for is to allow you to press a new skill, F2. And then once you execute your F2, your adrenaline all goes away, right? So
Okay.
It's a lot like Core Warrior in that you will be able to get your T3 bursts back, and they won't transform completely like how on Berserker, and that you won't be locked into low ones like on Spellbreaker. You get all of that, but there is a T4, and it's just very costly on endurance to spend. And what happens is this skill is called Life Bond, right? And when you trigger Life Bonds, you spend all of your adrenaline to tether a bond to your nearest ally. This is how it works by default. And what happens when you have this tether established for however many seconds is balanced, right? Whenever they take damage or Condi damage, half of it is redirected to you and reduced by some small amount when it hits you. So you can overall you have reduced the damage that's hitting the party, but you're the one that is taking that damage instead, right? And then most of the other synergies and things in the elite spec is about being able to shrug off damage and sustain damage through your high health pool, you see. And so if you can build a lot of adrenaline, this elite spec doesn't give you lots of extra ways to build adrenaline outside of regular warrior stuff. But the more you can do it, you can actually start maintaining more than one life bond. And so the more people you bond, the more pressure that comes on you. And so that's why you want to sustain and build your innate vitality and toughness and whatever up. So does
the tether goes on your friends?
Yes, it's you tether to your friends. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's Life Bond. So that's your main mechanic. It's Life Bond. There is another little bit as well. I did think about this. Okay, so Life Bond, you can't dodge. You can't evade Life Bond damage as it's coming in. You can't invuln it. But you can block it, which is something you actually see in a lot of raid big nuke encounters and things where block is a viable way of getting through things. And what that means is if you're running your main hand shield or your offhand shield or even both together, you get these blocks, which is actually helping you to sturdy your way through all the life pod stuff, so you get all that synergy with your shield stuff as well.
Sounds like something that is very annoying to fight against.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's going to release, guys, in an overpowered state, and then they'll nerf it back down later, right? Because that is the correct way to excite people into buying your next expansion. So yeah.
So what I hear from you though, is that your weapon is main hand shield.
Yes. So sorry, so as the concept art shows, and you get a main hand shield, which we can talk about next. But yeah, that's like the core mechanic. And yeah, what's your core mechanic?
So I don't go 4 adrenaline bars. I have a clarification about your 4 adrenaline bars. So the 4 adrenaline bars, you need all 4 to use your F2.
Yep.
But you only need as many as you want to use your actual burst, right?
Yeah, you can choose to have only 1 bar of adrenaline and use a T1 burst, or
okay. And if you use 4 bars of adrenaline for your normal burst, does that do anything special?
It's just a T3. It's not. It doesn't unlock because that's not sort of the flavor and the idea of this elite spec. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you don't get extra adrenaline bars, but you do get additional bursts.
Oh.
So the interesting thing about this build is your utility skills, elite skill, and healing skill are all burst skills.
Oh, really? Dude, I like that. Okay. So it's a bit like on other professions where like you're spending your profession mechanic on your utilities now.
That's right. So they all get better depending on your adrenaline level. You spend all your adrenaline. Sometimes I haven't decided yet whether some of your utility skills or healing skills will only spend 1 bar at a time, because you're going to need a lot of adrenaline for this build. Yeah. But yeah. So and then obviously from the picture you can see you have a great axe. I guess we'll talk about that next, but you'll have, I think, on some of the great axe abilities as well, will be adrenaline based also.
Okay, cool. I really like that idea.
Yeah, and so, but the thing is though, so like I said in the blurb, the amount of adrenaline you have will, because in the thrill of battle, you're just sort of numb to pain, or you're getting stronger because of all your adrenaline. So it's a trade-off. You will have abilities that make you stronger depending on how many bars of adrenaline you have on you, but most of your abilities use adrenaline, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah, I see. That's really nice, man. So I guess you segued us quite nicely as well into utility skills. What are they called? What are your utility? Yeah, they're just called bursts, literally.
They're burst skills, yeah.
That's really elegant. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So my utility skills are called wards. Okay.
Okay.
So wards actually do already exist in the game. There are only 2 of them though. There's the ring of warding and the line of warding on the Guardian. But these are elementalist skill category from the original game. So you get wards back. There were elite wards in the original game. One of them called ward against harm. So I'll talk about my elite later. But essentially what wards do is they are big areas that protect you and your friends in general in different ways. But the twist to them specifically is they have an effect, but they also have an additional effect to... so they affect your allies standing within them, but they have an additional effect on top of that for tethered allies standing within them. So if you are life bonded and in a ward, you get some extra stacking bonus on top. So an example of one of my utility skills would be like the ward against malice. And this in general would be protection against Condi stuff. So I was thinking the ward, first of all, can increase condition shedding, right? Which is kind of a stat in the game at the moment. Some runes offer it to you. Conditions run out faster on you, right?
And it gives to all your allies?
Yeah, and so it increases condition shedding to all your allies. I'd like if the expansion actually made that a formal boon or attribute that scales and stuff like that, but hey. But, you know, that's out of scope of this. But it would be increased condi shedding, but if they are also tethered, it's just straight up resistance. So the idea as well of mine is it's mitigation, but where its mitigation is a little bit different to other mitigation already in the game, such as overhealing or boon-oriented stuff, is it kind of exists outside of the boon system as much as it can. Not entirely, because obviously 0 counterplay is ridiculous, but that's kind of the idea. So yeah, condi shedding and resistance while they're tethered, and you know, the durations and cooldowns and stuff would balance it after that. But you know, that's just a simple utility skill, the ward against malice, and you'd have a selection of all 5, you know.
Okay. Well, before we go to full-on utility skills and elite skills and stuff, let's finally talk about why we chose our weapons.
Yeah, so what do our weapons do? Right, okay.
Yeah. So how about your shield? Let me hear about that.
Oh, well, why have I just done 2 in a row? How do we mess up
Okay, good
there?
point. All right, sorry. So, Great Axe. Why
hear it.
Great Axe? It's not something that's in the game yet. So, like, you're going to say, look, they're not going to add a new weapon, right? That's stupid. They're not going to add a new weapon. They have to do weapon skins for everything. I say to you, sir, or madam, that they could, and they might.
Yeah, I think they can. Absolutely, man. You can totally go for that. Just because they haven't in the previous ones, it doesn't mean that they can't push the boundaries. Look at the crazy detail that went into like Soul Beast and Weaver with POF, honestly. Yeah. Like,
and also, okay, so Warrior has so many things available to it already that either it has to start using magic-y weapons, or like maybe offhand pistol or something. I was thinking about offhand pistol. Or like they'll have to start using shield in the main hand, something stupid like that.
Or dual-wielding longbows, I don't know.
Yeah, so we gotta start, so we still gotta start going outside of what we currently have available in game. And Great Axe is a great idea because they only really have to add skins for it. They don't have to really add new animations for it, because the animations for Great Axe can be this. They can carry over old animations from Warhammer for everybody else.
Right. Okay.
So it's not that well, I mean, I'm saying it's not that difficult, but I know nothing.
It's a theory.
It's possible. It's possible that it won't be that difficult to add in to use the animations from other weapons for a Great Axe.
I mean, personally, I think that would be lame. Like, what's the point in doing it unless you go the whole hog? But I have faith.
What are you talking about? They do that all the time.
No, they don't. What?
Yeah,
When they add a new elite specialization, they make sure every skill that they add looks distinct and fresh and different.
Oh, sure, they make it look distinct, but they definitely reuse animations.
Well, yeah, like baseline movement of characters, but beyond that, you know, they'll make a bespoke thing, right? Like, you don't even have to go as conservative as you're gesturing there. I think it will be. They would be all right adding a full Great Axe, right? They could do 5 skills plus a full auto attack chain, and it would all feel fresh and awesome. You know, that's not animation and visual effects wise. That's no harder than a billion different Soul Beast skills, right? Which I know many were borrowed from pets, but let's say the Weaver as an example instead. Then anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, so I'm just trying to say that Great Axe is possible. It is there's a possibility that it can be done, and it's a beautiful thing. It's perfectly suited for Warrior, and I think it needs a Great Axe. And I mean, for goodness sake, the concept art for Warrior has a great axe from the beginning, so it has to be added.
I think that's a compelling argument. Did you think about the skills themselves at all?
Yes, so they're going to be very damagey. There's going to be very little defense built into it. It's going to be slower, about the same speed as the hammer.
Okay.
But more damage and less, like, obviously no real lockdown or anything like that the hammer has. So it'll be a very damagey weapon, and I believe I'll say that at least 2 of the abilities on it, maybe 3 and 5, will use adrenaline.
Okay.
So you could use it when you don't have adrenaline, but it'll be weaker, and the more adrenaline you have and use will be stronger.
So the utility and the weapon skills are all spending adrenaline. Is there any adrenaline generation on the Great Axe? Because that seems like that'd be a match made in heaven, doesn't it?
That does sound like a good idea. Let's say yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I find that interesting. What do you think of the Executioner's axe already in the game and the animations that it has there? Would you borrow
You
any
can carry
of those?
those over for sure.
Would you look at like Death Shroud, the Executioner's axe strike on their 5 in there? Would you have some analogs
Death
to that
Shroud.
or?
Nah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I like the idea of the Great Axe as well being kind of slow compared to regular axes, which are, they're the antithesis of that, right? They move very fast and they're all about fury and very quick, rapid little strikes, especially when you're dual wielding. So sort of having the reverse is a cool idea.
And I want to kind of tie the name a little bit more into it. So Bloodreaver has been sort of because the adrenaline and the blood, but I want to say that the warrior kind of gets a little bit more cannibalistic when it becomes a Bloodreaver. So maybe some of the axe skills, you do damage to somebody and steal life.
Okay. Yeah, I think life still works well on that as well, and you kind of do need that for the name. All right.
Okay.
So the main hand shield is the complete opposite of what Boots was just talking about. Obviously, right? It's about defense. It's about sustaining. It's about making sure that you can stay alive with the Lifeborn. Now that is not a requirement. You could still run your mace main hand and get your parry for your blocks there. You could still do whatever else you like, right? And by the way, there would be some damage capability on this spec, just like every time ArenaNet releases one. That's kind of the place they go, right? They allow even the really support heavy specs to have damage capacity. So you'd never feel punished for not running shield main hand. It would just be another way of accomplishing getting those blocks in. You could even... You don't have to dual wield shields, right? You could just have the shield main hand and then sub the offhand for something else that you would value.
So weird, but I like it.
Like, you could go shield main sword off because sword has a, riposte on there, right? Instead. And this wouldn't trigger, this wouldn't force riposte. If you're taking a Lifeborn damage, it wouldn't force riposte to swap into the other thing. But right, so I was thinking the auto attack could be a chain, and the third at the end of the chain of this auto attacks actually drops shards around you, a bit like when a herald is attacking with a staff and they drop those little glowy orbs. Except what these are is they're like fragments of the shield you're holding. And
so kind of like the Dragon Hunter trap.
Yeah, so a bit like the Dragon Hunter trap, but while walking into that is giving Aegis, and that's a utility skill and blah blah blah. This is just an auto attack chain, so it would be more refined. It wouldn't be Aegis, it would just be damage reduction, which you can choose to have your allies step in and pick up, or yourself to pick up, thus reducing the Lifeborn damage. So you can keep rolling that. It doesn't have to be much damage reduction, and the generation of it could be quite slow. I actually think main hand shield would chain in quite slowly there. So I like that idea. I think that there needs to be some kind of block, like a blocking parry. I think the skill 2 is a good idea. If you think of Conjure Earth Shield, which is like a great shield, really, that one has a parry on the 2, if I remember right.
Yeah. Skill 2 is usually like a block and then parry. So
exactly, that works well. Now, the 3 is the really exciting one. The Sentinel isn't particularly magically themed, okay? But there is a sense of a bit of magic going on there, similar to how Core Warrior summons banners out of nowhere, and there's like a magical feeling to it or whatever.
You're turning little Guardian with the Sentinel.
Yeah, it's about not that. I don't want to go that Guardian with it, right? So there is a bit of a magical idea. Now, here's the main thing. The 3 is 2 skills. First of all, it's a ground target at like 900 range, and it's a totem place down. So when you use this, you actually throw your main hand shield on the ground like an environmental weapon. Nobody can pick it up, but what it does is it like pulses protection or something defensive in the area around it. And so the idea is you can actually throw the shield down to defend your allies, but you do forsake your main hand weapon. Now, Guild Wars is actually coded well enough that if that happens and you did have your main hand weapon unequipped, the one revealed in your underneath in your optional slot would actually just come forward. So it'd work really well. But here's the other thing. You can walk over, pick it up at any time, and you get it back. But while it's placed down, it becomes a flip over skill. And that flip, and this is the most magical thing on the entire thing, beyond like the wards or whatever, is a swap. Where what you can actually do is leap straight to the shield from, 1200 range, whatever feels really fun. So the idea is you even have a bit of an emergency like clutch potential thing here where you can swap your position with your shield and just jump straight over to it to then life bond and help your people out, go for the big res you need or whatever, if this isn't Conquest or whatever. So yeah, I've always loved the idea of a warrior having some teleport ability. I also like the idea of warriors having stealth capacity, but this obviously doesn't fit for the Sentinel. But I like just that one blink, and that's really the special thing that the shield main hand would be offering. And think about how you can combo that with your offhands there. You could, if you're on a more aggressive one, you could pour in, do your lockdown or something, and then immediately, whirling axe or something straight out of it. I think that's an interesting
I gotta say, as you were saying that, you made me come up with an ability for the Great Axe, which is I'm guessing either number 3 with the burst added to it or number 5 with the burst added to it. Movement skill. You throw your Great Axe at your target.
Yeah.
You then leap to the Great Axe and pull it out of your target for extra
that's
damage.
A cool idea. A bit like grip on the sword offhand, right?
A little bit like grip on the sword offhand. So, but how it works with adrenaline is 0 bars of adrenaline, you just throw your axe and it hits the target and you jump to them and take it out. But it doesn't do extra damage for the takeout or the jump to anyway. 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, it adds stages of additional damage to it by you do damage when you leap to them and like maybe like a ground area of effect thing in the area. You do damage to them when you rip it out, etc.
Yeah. So I was thinking as well, the burst on the shield is like a spin ability where you spin around with the main hand shield, and it's like a point blank AoE long-term knockdown. So I'm talking like a 2-second knockdown or even a 3-second knockdown, but with like quite a quick animation, so it can even like rip through stab and stuff, reliably. But yeah, so that would be the idea there. I don't really see... I mean, it's a bit like Earthshaker, honestly, on the hammer, but you are investing into a full 2-handed weapon there. And this one isn't necessarily a gap close, which the trade-off there is that it's like... What I like the idea of is it's like a double packet of damage, like... And both spins will do it. So you can rip through that one Aegis first, and then get the knockdown, or you can rip through that one stack of stab and then the knockdown. So it's just a double spin, like a quick little whirl, with 2 packets of long knockdown CC on there. And also good break bar damage if you're taking it into PvE, wherever that may be, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking for the bursts. Maybe even each adrenaline level increases the number of packets. So if you proc the shield burst at adrenaline tier 1, it's 1 packet of damage. If it's T2, then you've just doubled your break bar damage and you've ripped 2 stab. If it's 3, then you get the full 3. So yeah, that's what I wanted for the weapon. There you go.
All right, sounds good.
Next, I guess let's look at an elite skill. So I already talked about our utilities. Did you design an elite?
Did not sort of talk about my utilities yet, but I think I'll go over it a little quickly. So utilities, just like elite and just like your heal skill, like I said, are burst skills. But what does that mean exactly? Well, as you know, there are already a lot of traits and stuff that affect your burst skill, so that's good. So you already have stuff built into the class that affect these utilities and elites and things. But on top of that, what do burst skills usually do? Your burst skill is dependent on the weapon you're using, usually your F1 skill, right?
Right.
So now your utility skills and elite skill and heal skill are all dependent on what weapon you're wielding.
Oh my god, this is like the Weaver thing here. This is like
they
a billion
all do
skills.
Something different depending on what main hand weapon you're wielding.
Oh my god, that's a lot of skills. That's crazy.
Yeah,
especially
like maybe not crazy different, but different.
Oh, okay, so same animation but slightly different effect each time, kind
No,
of thing?
no,
or?
no, no. More like different animation, different the way it like hit, how much damage it does, what extra little effect it does. But on top of that, the utility skill has a base effect that it does the same across all attacks.
Okay.
So like utility skills, you're gonna have one movement, one stun break, one defensive, and one
The
offensive.
heal one will always heal you, for example, right?
And the heal one will always heal you. The movement one will always move you in some way. The stun break one will always stun break and give you some, like maybe a little bit of evasion. Well, maybe not evasion, but stun break and do something else. The defensive one will always give you like these different boons or maybe evasion or something. And the offensive one will always give you boons or a buff or some other damagey thing. Right. And depending on your weapon, it changes what the attack is tied to it. And depending on how much adrenaline you do, the buff it gives and the damage it does
will increase in potency.
Will increase, exactly.
So how different does a sword shield warrior using those bursts, sorry, a sword shield Bloodreaver, feel using those bursts to like a great axe Bloodreaver?
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
So you're kind of asking them to make not one set of utility skills, but one for every weapon that the warrior can use.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I like it. We should judge for realism as well. I don't know either, right? Like how realistic that is, because they did go really crazy in POF, right? And they did do stuff that you'd never expect.
Weaver had like 62 new skills.
Yeah.
Or 40 something. But so this is not that crazy because how many are there? There's going to be 6 skills, right? Your heal, your 4 utilities, and your 1 elite.
Yeah.
So it's 6 times however many main hand weapons a warrior has.
So let's quickly go through our elite skill and then some traits. So my elite skill is the ward against harm, the same elite that drawing from Guild Wars 1 there. By the way, I thought what would be cool with the wards is graphically, they create this area, right, obviously around you, but the border, the perimeter of that area is like, the graphics are like lots of little shields dug into the ground kind of thing, like facing outwards. Yeah.
Like instead of the swords from the DH, it's...
Yeah, exactly. So I think that would be really cool. And obviously themed with the color for the warrior. But so the elite one, okay, is, it's just like massive mitigation, all right? So ward against harm. For X seconds, however long it is, the allies that you have in the ward gain your vitality attribute.
Ooh.
So if you have stacked yourself up to be a 40k warrior, they all have 40k health for the duration of the thing.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, no, it's fine because you just reduce the duration or whatever. Or you say it's only a percentage, but that's the idea, right? They gain your vitality attribute, okay? And because this is the elite well, all right, it's got the tether thing. For the elite,
they're wells now.
Sorry, ward, yeah. Wells were basically offensive wards before, so I always get them a bit confused. But basically, the tether thing, with the elite one, any allies that go into it with you are automatically tethered to you. Now, that can be a risk and a reward, because obviously, if they're all getting hazed and AoE'd really hard in World vs. World, and you're tethered to all of them, you're going to get nuked freaking hard. But, so they automatically tether to you, and a percentage of or their health pool is added to your own. Pre-buff, obviously, pre before they go to your... So it's kind of like, I take their vitality, they take my vitality, right?
Okay,
And so because I could be tethered to a ton of different people, you know, max target's 10 or something, right? Obviously I could be getting hit really hard if that's some crazy damage there, so you kind of get their vitality pool in there as well. So you get that experience of not only being already, you know, just super, you know, tens and tens of thousands of health. When you pop the ward against harm, you really feel like that god among everyone, and you're taking loads of their damage for them and trying to shrug it off. So I really like that idea, and there's some interesting like stack potential as well with having lots of sentinels doing that together.
I like it.
So yeah, all right. What's your elite?
Well, my elite is again, like you said, like I said, depends on what weapon you're using. So I like this also because it means that. Through your utilities and elites and stuff, you get to decide, like, you don't have to decide based on the elite spec whether you're gonna go condi or damage or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
You could do it. The elite spec allows you to go whichever way you want afterwards. Because if you're using sword, for example, your utility skills and your elite skill will probably use condition damage as well.
Yeah. A lot like how the Berserker worked with its new bursts.
Kind of.
Where they did that.
Well, no, Berserker kind of just added condi damage to everything.
In some ways, yeah, but also the condi loaded weapons kept good condi on them.
I don't know. It kind of just added condi damage to everything. So the elite skill, perform a devastating attack based on the weapon you have equipped, and for the next 10 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, X seconds, whatever, whenever you hit with a burst skill, all your burst skills recharge 3 seconds faster.
Okay.
That sounded very happy.
No, I get it. It's just I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It sounds like the only thing I would say is, whoa, that sounds really strong. But obviously, matters of efficacy aren't worth consideration. I don't think, right? Like the flavor of it is more than enough, right? So does that include all your utilities as well? Everything that's a burst, they all just chunk.
That's right. Everything that's a burst skill. So for a certain amount of seconds, you go
just
on
chain them basically, right? You combo burst into burst into burst.
You just combo burst into burst and burst, which in fact would also reduce the cooldown of the elite.
Oh, yeah, it would as well. So the more you hit, the lower... I like that. That sounds very cool. Yeah, and that idea of, like, juggling your way through the cooldowns. So what you could do is you could have one of your burst skills, whether it's on the weapon or what, you could have that be really quick recharging, but not really that good. But the point is you can juggle between that and then another one and then that and then another one and that, and having that really renewable fresh one there all the time allows you to spam the others more while the elite's up, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And you also have your main burst, which is fine too.
That almost feels like Guild Wars Money Assassin kind of thing when
yeah, but you have to remember though, you need adrenaline for all of this.
Yeah. So that's true as well. Yeah.
You're going to have to, I mean, there's going to probably be some traits in there that'll increase your adrenaline gain, but you're going to have to remember that you're going to need adrenaline for all of this.
Yeah, one of your utilities should definitely be really fast recharging and basically just gives you a lot of adrenaline. So it's kind of like the Unravel or the Outrage of that, elite spec. They always do one utility now that's kind of a bit... It's about enabling the rest of the elite spec a bit more, You could kind of fit that in there quite well.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. So now let's go on to traits real quick. I'm running out of space here. I have almost none.
Okay. So we both found a minor trait, right? Just to sort of emphasize the class. So this is an always passive. A minor trait for me, going back to the Sentinel gear idea, right? If your objective is to get lots of vitality because of the elite interaction and because of whatever else, and just trying to sustain as well as you can, I want a minor trait that converts power into vitality and toughness into vitality. So that then, if you were to run anything with those stat sets, you continue building that vitality up. You could even give it the Herald treatment too, where you just get baseline increased vitality, as we saw with the recent Herald rework.
But doesn't that mean that they're going to have to switch the strength trait, the non-minor trait that changes power to vitality?
Why would they have to change that?
Because this is just the same thing but better.
What? Yeah, but you could stack them together, so they all have viability. And besides, taking a core specialization is not the same consideration as taking an elite specialization.
I guess.
The idea is you could have it all together, right? Like, that's the idea.
Yeah, okay, all right.
What's your minor? What's your always passive?
Mine is gain 5% damage reduction and 5% power and condi damage for each bar of adrenaline you have.
Oh, so your minor is encouraging people to hold on to adrenaline.
That's
even
right.
Though
At least
the class is about spending it.
That's exactly right. The trade-off. There goes the trade-off.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Often the devs end up ironing stuff like that out, and people say that they don't really like those kinds of interactions. So I wonder how long that would last, or if that would end up feeling really...
I don't know. I think it just adds a little... First of all, a little more gameplay thought to the way you play it, and it also... allows people to make builds that don't go full crazy burst given. Like this way you could actually, I don't know, run a 5 Signet Warrior and
right.
go...
I agree with that, but this is the minor. This is the always passive, right? So
that's right.
Wouldn't it be the juxtapositions and the majors where you make one selection or another that people utilize for defining a different play style?
Well, it's because for me, it's because this entire elite spec itself is centered around the idea that the more adrenaline you have, the less damage, like you get numb to pain and you feel stronger. So the more adrenaline you have, it's a minor trait. It's part of the core aspect of the Reaver.
I see. Okay.
And you're using your adrenaline on the bursts, but you gain more of it afterwards.
Okay, that's cool. And what about finally a Grandmaster from the both of us? So my Grandmaster, what I wanted to do is like what they did with Hollow and stuff, where you pick one and it defines your core mechanic in an interesting and new way, right? So I'm not going to do all 3 Grandmasters, but as an example, you'd have like a Grandmaster that increases the efficacy of Life Bond. But this one here, Life Bond, when you hit that F2, it now tethers to more allies, like your 3 closest allies now. And it would be designed so that, and again, there's trade back with that, because tethering to more people can just get you killed quicker, right? So unless you're and so you could pick either that or a different one that increases your damage reduction. So one may be suicide, the other may not, depending on the situation you're going into.
Right. Does the F2 times 3 thing kind of like make the elite skill a little bit less important?
Yeah, so maybe you would want to sub the elite off at that point. The elite really would be for the not for the automatic tether to everyone, but for the other stuff as well. Or what I was also thinking is there'd be a hard cap on 5 targets with Life Bond by default. You take this Grandmaster and it goes up to 10 targets now, right? Or baseline, it's 10 and it goes up. And so then the elite, it is a combo with the elite, because the elite would only tether to 5 people without the GM. With the GM, you get that. And also it's the trade-off. The tethers themselves are basically weaker than they otherwise could be, because if you pick the other GM, the Life Bond itself would be stronger, right? So yeah, that's my Grandmaster, and I just love the way that they did that with Hollow, and I would seek to have that on all elite specs in the game, really. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I like that too, actually. I wish I had thought of that as well, but I have instead, I gave a couple, actually I have a few different ideas. Some of them are better than others. I'm going to read them off real quick.
Okay.
GM trait, heal for 20% of the damage you do with burst skills.
Okay, so you get that replenishment in there to allow you to keep rampaging forwards. Or reaving.
GM trait. After being at full adrenaline for 10 seconds, you gain Iron-Blooded. While affected by Iron-Blooded, incoming attacks have a 30% chance of being a grazing hit.
Ooh, Iron-Blooded is already the name of a trait, Boots.
Oh, damn it. Gain Iron-Blooded?
This is why you should genericize the whole thing.
Good point. But yeah, so like after being at a full... this is another one of those things where it's a choice this time of keeping your adrenaline at 3 stacks. So if you're at 3 stacks of adrenaline for 10 seconds straight, you get this ability for, I don't know, 5 seconds or something.
That's a little bit more nuanced than people might appreciate as well, because you do have to hold in combat for that. I guess it depends on your format, to be honest.
Exactly. And so it's like a lesser version of weakness.
And also, the other really important thing as well, with Boots' spec there, people might not be considering, is... if you're running those utility skills, you've locked yourself out of even using utilities, because you use utility and you're gimping it. So, that's an interesting trait.
And then that brings me to this last version of a GM trait, which encourages you not to just lock yourself into these utility skills, which is for each bar of adrenaline you have, each of your utility skills gives you and your allies 1 stack of might when you use them.
So you got a might generator on there.
Might generator, for you and your friends. If you
is that a 10 target full on? Yeah, let's do it. I'm sure the Warriors will look forward to becoming the might bots again.
Exactly. You could do might bot instead of you don't have to be a Condi Berserker anymore. You could
it's all right, Boots. Warriors won't be allowed to run either of our specs anyway, because they have to keep running banners. So it's cool.
Hey, you can still run a banner with this.
I wanted to get more banner interactions onto mine, but I thought, this is enough. So, yeah, all right, there you go. Those are our 2 elite specs. What you guys now should do in the comments is let us know which... isn't there like an actual voting thing I can do on YouTube? I'll have to learn that. But what you guys can let us know in the comments which one you prefer. And when you're making your value judgment, consider things like plausibility, theme... don't just think about efficacy, right? Because we've just waffled this out, and they could be horrendously underpowered, horrendously overpowered, whatever. Think about the flow of the class. Think about all that kind of stuff, right? What benefit it would be to the game, what how it's distinct to other things, and yeah, I guess, right? And the other thing as well is, are they going to vote on what we do on the next episode, Boots?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so let us know what profession you want to see next, guys. We'll do a profession, right? And we'll just go from there.
Not Mesmer.
So, not Mesmer. What do we want for episode 2 of Elite Speculation, what we might see on the next expansion? Let us know. Give us cool ideas for Boots and I to steal in the comments, and we will see you all on the next one. It's been good to have you, Boots.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I did not draw mine properly. All right, see you guys.